This is an operation theater. They're repairing a sick patient, a delicate surgical procedure. This is a maintenance area. A structure has been opened to make some checks and replace some parts. There's a continual awareness among these skilled technicians that they must not on any account leave a tool in the works. No foreign object of any kind must be allowed to penetrate these sophisticated mechanisms. The pictures and words have been inverted. They should be interchangeable, but they're not. In a hospital, everything is properly accounted for. Surely it is the cause for alarm. But in many aircraft maintenance areas, despite careful procedures, things do get overlooked. The Safety Data and Analysis Unit of the Civil Aviation Authority has compiled a weighty sequence of occurrences from reports it has received over the past 10 years. It makes for unpleasant reading. The conclusion is that a high percentage of foreign object damage, or FOD, is caused by forgetfulness, oversight, and neglect. Cleaning rag found in fuel tanks. And following a special check, cloth rags were found near the booster pumps in the port and starboard outer tanks. Forgetfulness is one of those commonplace attributes of the human condition. Who hasn't forgotten their keys or left their lights on? After takeoff, the pilot found aileron control would not move left. A check found that an internal washer of a plastic chain guard covering the control column was missing. A washer was found, twisted on the floor in front of the base of the column due to a washer being misplaced during the last maintenance activity. Some people know that they have a stone in their shoe, but if it's not hurting, they just leave it. On pre-takeoff checks, the pilot of a short 330 found his rudders jammed. Investigation revealed that a 14-inch metal panel loose on the floor was restricting the left pedal. Others leave the most obvious things behind, almost as if they think they'll take care of themselves. Captain's seat slid back on takeoff occurred at 120 knots. Control handed over to co-pilot. Knife found partially fouling seat track. Most people have left an umbrella on a train or a bus, but 16 of them? Noise reported when aileron control rotated. On removing autopilot servo motor cover, 16 loose fuses found underneath aileron control rod and servo motor. The incriminating evidence against forgetfulness, oversight, and neglect builds up. The last chunk of it concerns the tools that people use in the workplace. Elevator control stiff. Socket found in servo tab. 10mm socket and ratchet found on flight deck. Tools noticed by passenger in speed brake recess. Tools found to be jamming the cooling fan door open. Pliers wedged on top of engine pylon fairing. Wrench found attached to brake cylinder on pre-flight check. Minor damage to left-hand main landing gear door. During routine investigation, an 18-inch screwdriver was found fouling elevator control cable. Loose object on flight deck. On sliding the seat back to disembark, a screwdriver found under the seat. Tools found on floor of electronics bay. Tools left on main landing gear horizontal door. Unlike surgeons in hospitals, aviation maintenance personnel use their own tools and in general treat them with great care. However, even the most meticulously skilled craftsmen have the occasional attack of amnesia, as the report shows. There have been examples of toolboxes and their contents being left on aircraft. Tagging and numbering is the theater operator's safety device. In the aircraft hangar or on the line, each technician must mentally tag a number to each tool they carry with themselves if these incidents are to be avoided. There are not surgeons' masks to protect this sick patient from the bacteria that can foul up the mechanisms. Its foreign germs are just as small in proportion to his size and weight as the other patient. They are the swabs or rags left behind, the screws on the floor, and even the smallest pieces of wire. High engine vibration after start. Inlet guide vanes damaged. Impact damaged at 15 different places. Low pressure turbine damaged in 2 places. suggested the damage caused by something like a 16th-inch ball bearing. On approach, number 4 engine shut down after throttle jammed. Fuel control unit seizure due to fragments of locking wire between the rack and gear segment of the throttle box. Engine had been installed 2 days prior to this incident following workshop visit for high and low pressure turbine and fuel control unit changes. 5 out of 7 engines' throttle cable strands failed. Pulley block assembly had rivet heads embedded in cable groove adjacent to damaged cable position. VHF 1 and 2 failed, attributed to foreign metal objects in audio selector panel. The pages of the occurrence reports are littered with instances of bolts, screws, nuts, and pins that have contributed to some defect or another. There are a number of incidents caused by the kind of everyday items that people carry loose in their pockets. To misplace an office eraser doesn't usually ring alarm bells, unless it happens inside an aircraft under maintenance. One of these caused a serious malfunction. What about the coins people drop? One of this size kept a passenger trapped in his seat throughout his flight. It was found jammed in the seatbelt fastening mechanism. One curious incident vividly demonstrates how vulnerable this patient is. The pilot of an aircraft reported a recurring restriction of his controls. He could only raise the nose so far and beyond a certain climbing attitude, and no further. When he landed, the controls were examined. Nothing was found. When he took off again, exactly the same fault occurred. Back on the ground, the aircraft was stripped down to its bare shell until the culprit revealed itself. A ballpoint pen had dropped into a half-inch square cavity behind the bulkhead. As the aircraft climbed, the pen had been falling backwards, jamming the elevator control and preventing any further backward movement of the rod. In the leveled-off attitude, the pen was moving forward, releasing the controls. People who apply their skills to the maintenance of aircraft are painstaking and thorough. They will take waste containers with them. They'll keep a weathered eye on borrowed tools. But they are as prone to an outbreak of forgetfulness, oversight, and neglect as anyone else. As their own checkmasters, and as the sentinels of the safety of thousands of passengers and crew who will fly that aircraft, there is no other option than to equip themselves with a sixth sense, an extra vigilance, a heightened awareness that any object of any size that they can drop, mislay, forget, and leave behind can become a harmful agent. They can turn up at any time to delay an aircraft's takeoff, to cause an incident in flight or on landing, to cost an airline dearly in checks, repairs, or replacements, to cause alarm and inconvenience to these people and perhaps lose their goodwill at a time when the airline competition is supercharged. This is the patient. Its engines are its heart. Its pulleys, cables, and wires are its muscles and sinews. Its fuel is its blood. Its avionics are its brains. Keep it free from FOD.
Welcome to Paulding Northwest Atlanta Airport's Safety Management System Training Module for FOD Awareness, brought to you by the Paulding County Airport Authority Airfield Safety Office.
Hi, I'm Blake Swafford, manager of the Paulding Northwest Atlanta Airport. FOD is any material that's found on the airport that shouldn't be there. FOD can cause damage to airplanes, the airport, and can severely injure personnel. Our FOD prevention program is comprised of 3 components: training, facility maintenance, and education. Please pay close attention over the next few minutes to this FOD training module. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Kerry Tidmore, Airport FOD Manager and Safety Officer for the Paulding Northwest Atlanta Airport. Welcome to our FOD Awareness Training Module as part of our Safety Management System for the Paulding County Airport Safety Office. This multimedia training module will cover the following topics. What is FOD and why the concern? Video. Airfield FOD program requirements. Definitions and significance. FOD fundamentals. Examples of FOD and sources. Damages caused by FOD. FOD damage demonstration video. FOD migration. FOD risk mitigation efforts. Airfield management responsibilities. Tenant user responsibilities, and a What's at Stake flight crew perspective video. Regulatory guidance regarding FOD management for airfields is derived primarily from the FAA Advisory Circular. This Advisory Circular, or AC, provides guidance for developing and managing an airport foreign object debris or FOD program. In addition, this advisory circular provides specifications for the equipment used in FOD removal operations. Additional guidance is contained within FAA Part 139, which states mud, dirt, sand, loose aggregate, debris, foreign objects, rubber deposits, and other contaminants shall be removed promptly and as completely as practicable. ICAO Annex 14 states that the surface of pavements, runways, taxiways, aprons, etc. should be kept clear of any loose stones or other objects that might cause damage to airplane structures or engines or impair the operation of airplane systems. Some key definitions and significance. Foreign object debris, FOD.
Any object, live or not, located in an inappropriate location in the airport environment that has the capacity to injure airport or air carrier personnel and damage aircraft.
Foreign object debris, FOD damage.
Any damage attributed to a foreign object that can be expressed in physical or economic terms, which may or may not downgrade the product's safety or performance characteristics.
Other definitions of significance include Air Operations Area, or AOA, which is defined as all airport areas where aircraft can operate either under their own power or while in tow.
The AOA includes runways, taxiways, apron areas, and all unpaved surfaces within the airport's perimeter fence.
Airport apron, or also referred to as the ramp, which is a surface in the AOA where aircraft park and are serviced.
Servicing includes aircraft refueling and or the loading or unloading of freight, passengers, luggage, etc.
Clean as you go, which is a phrase used to describe the practice of cleaning your surroundings before, during, and after a shift,
especially when working with items that may become FOD.
FOD poses a significant threat to the safety of air travel, airfield employees, and users of any airport. Types of potential damage include cut aircraft tires, objects being ingested into engines, objects becoming lodged in mechanisms affecting flight operations. Personnel injuries or even death can occur when jet blast propels FOD through the airport environment at high velocities.
Aircraft damage during critical phases of flight may lead to catastrophic loss of life and airframe, and at the very least, increased maintenance and operating costs.
An effective FOD management program, however, can significantly reduce these types of hazards. Why the fuss, you might ask? While the Concorde accident of 2000 made world news, what was little known about the accident was that the root cause was attributed to an 8-inch piece of titanium metal FOD, much like this one. The following video in a controlled industry test environment clearly exhibits the catastrophic effects even one piece of FOD can have if ingested into a running jet engine.
FOD is any material that's found on the airport that shouldn't be there. FOD can cause damage to airplanes, the airport, and can severely injure personnel.
Please remember to clean as you go and remove FOD as promptly and as completely as practicable.
FOD migration is the process in which pieces of FOD may travel from the point of original origin or source, either via mechanical, physical, or meteorological means. In other words, how FOD can travel from point A to point B.
Mechanical, physical. Debris being moved by jet propeller blast, incomplete sweeper action, caught in vehicle tire grooves, or moved by human interface. Meteorological. Any debris on the AOA that can be affected by wind, water runoff, etc.
Now that you have a better understanding of what FOD is and what its impact can have in and around the airport, let's examine our FOD management program, which is a forward-looking, proactive approach and a cornerstone to our airfield's safety management system.
Our FOD management program follows the FAA AC guidance and consists of a continual four-step process of prevention, detection, removal, and evaluation. Our prevention process includes this FOD risk awareness training module and continues with our ongoing efforts at creating a FOD-conscious culture. All parties taking ownership in this vitally important program constitutes our prevention and detection processes. Good FOD management program habits include securing all loose articles which may become FOD, exercising a pick-it-up mindset, and clean-as-you-go philosophy. These habits together make up our prevention, detection, and removal processes. Our removal and evaluation processes are well managed by the airport's FOD manager or designee as they conduct periodic airfield FOD inspections, organize quarterly FOD walks, and continue to track data, evaluate trends, and make continual improvements. Part of mitigating FOD risk at the airport is wildlife management. Wildlife strikes in the U.S. account for an estimated $683 million in damage and losses to aircraft annually. One of the most familiar examples of this is U.S. Airways Flight 1549 landing in the Hudson River after striking a flock of Canadian geese. How can airport management mitigate this risk? Making the airport less attractive to wildlife is fundamental in controlling wildlife and preventing a strike. Appropriate action includes identifying attractive features on or adjacent to the airport and then making changes to remove the attraction or to deter wildlife's access to it.
Reduce agricultural practices around the airport, mow regularly, remove food, resting sites, and water, and close trash cans.
On a daily basis, the airport shall take immediate measures to alleviate wildlife hazards whenever they are detected or reported. This may include, but is not limited to, announcing these hazards on the AWOS or Unicom frequency and/or issuing notices to airmen. What can you do to help? You can prevent the attraction of wildlife to the airport with a few simple actions.
Making sure trash is properly disposed of. Please don't litter. Pick up trash. Cover trash cans. Don't feed birds at or near the airport, and don't abandon pets at the airport.
Please watch for and report to airport staff if you see any unusual concentration of birds or wildlife that may be a hazard to aircraft operations, or if you notice large animals or wildlife on the airport. The overall goal of airfield management is to properly mitigate the FOD risk on our airfield. To achieve that goal, airfield management responsibilities include promoting FOD awareness, ensuring all temporary and permanent airfield tenants receive proper training on FOD awareness, and adhere to safety management system policies. Airfield management will also periodically conduct FOD inspections, analyze the data and trends, and make necessary changes in order to adequately mitigate the FOD risk. Your responsibility as a tenant of the airfield is to be a team player. Practice good housekeeping and clean-as-you-go principles, and secure all loose articles which may become FOD on the airfield. Remember, it is also your obligation to properly report any identified or perceived FOD risk on the airfield to airfield management or any FBO representative. In other words, be aware of FOD risks on and around the airfield and actively assist in reducing those risks.
Hello, my name is Timothy Klein. As a professional pilot, my job involves mitigating a risk. By participating in a FOD awareness program, you're helping me fly a safe and reliable aircraft. In order to do this and accomplish that flight, following good FOD maintenance and cleaning practices and keeping the ramps clean, the hangars clean, FOD picked up, tool accountability is going to allow me to get my job done and arrive safely. And one day you could be my passenger and it's going to affect you. Thank you for watching our FOD training program and have a great day.
As you can see from this training module, FOD poses a significant threat to any users of an airport in the air operations area. However, this threat can be significantly reduced by following the principles of this training module. I'm Kerry Tidmore, Airport FOD Manager for the Paulding Northwest Atlanta Airport and Airfield Safety Officer. If you have any questions regarding this material, this training, or our FOD program, please contact our Airfield Safety Office at 770-505-7700 or contact us through our website at pauldingairport.com. Thank you very much for your attention, and fly safely.
San Antonio's International Airport is known for being one of the most innovative and friendliest airports in the country. The team at San Antonio International is also very focused on safety for our stakeholders, and airfield safety is priority one. Every year, foreign objects and debris, or FOD, causes millions of dollars of damage to aircraft throughout the industry. In an effort to increase airfield safety, the Aviation Department established a structured FOD prevention program. The goal of the FOD prevention program is to create awareness about FOD, develop a culture that is proactive in FOD prevention, and eliminate FOD at the source. Examples of FOD include metal parts, screws, trash, or anything that an engine can ingest. The FOD program is a partnership between the Aviation Department, the airlines, air cargo, and fixed-based operators. The Aviation Department's Operations Division administers the program. The FOD prevention program is made up of three components: monthly FOD committee meetings, bi-weekly FOD inspections, and quarterly FOD squad walks. The FOD committee. The FOD committee meets monthly and has a representative from each airline, air cargo operator, FBO, and the Aviation Department. The committee has an agenda and discusses FOD-related issues and establishes policy within the FOD prevention program. Every 6 months, the Aviation Department presents the FOD Awards. There is a winner for each stakeholder, airline, air cargo, and FBO based on their biannual FOD scores. At the end of the award ceremony, the new 6-month campaign is introduced to include a new campaign poster and sticker. The new poster is put on every door entering the airport operations area. FOD inspections. Every 2 weeks, the Airport Operations Division will perform a FOD inspection of each airline gate, air cargo ramp, and FBO leasehold. Representatives from these organizations are invited to participate in the FOD inspections. Airport Operations scores each gate with a simple scoring method. If 0 pieces of FOD are found, they receive a score of 100%. 1 to 2 pieces of FOD, 90% score. 3 to 4 pieces of FOD, a 75% score, and 5 or more pieces of FOD, a 50% score. These scores with pictures of FOD found are then emailed to all the stakeholders simultaneously, allowing everyone to see the scores and FOD collected, creating a friendly competition. To assist our stakeholders, the Aviation Department has provided FOD buckets at airline gates, air cargo ramps, and FBOs. Every week, airport maintenance empties the buckets. FOD squad walks. A critical component of the FOD prevention program are the quarterly FOD squad walks. Staff from aviation, airlines, air cargo, and FBOs are invited to spend 1 hour of their day to socialize, pick up FOD, and leave with the prize and a sense of helping our airport stay safe and FOD-free. Since the summer of 2008, the San Antonio FOD prevention program has been influential in creating FOD awareness and bringing together stakeholders to keep our airport FOD-free. Over the years, San Antonio has the opportunity to reach out to other interested airports as they develop their own FOD programs. Through an effective safety management system and supportive executive team, San Antonio looks forward in continuing to be a leader in airfield safety.
FOD, means foreign object damage. It affects everybody. Delays and canceled flights are costly. For aft-mounted engines, small stones are the single largest cause of economic loss due to FOD. However, birds and ice are very serious because they often involve flight safety and can affect pilot workload during the most critical phase of flight, takeoff. Still, FOD is largely preventable. The following will show its sources and how you can help prevent it. To ensure resistance to FOD, the engines are proven durable. They have been certified by ice, hail, and bird ingestion tests.
An ice slab was dropped into the inlet. The engine experienced negligible loss in power and sustained minimal damage to the fan rotor. To simulate hailstone ingestion, 13 1-inch and 13 2-inch ice balls were loaded into 2 pneumatic cannons and laser aimed at specific target areas on the engine fan.
Mitchell Camp. Well, I'll be there in about 7 minutes dropping. Arm the system. Fire.
The ice balls were fired at a speed of 250 knots. The engine was operating at maximum cruise power. Again, the engine experienced minimal power loss with minor damage to the fan rotor. To demonstrate engine integrity after multiple bird strikes, 4 medium-sized birds weighing 1.5 pounds each were fired into the engine at a speed of 250 knots. The engine was operating at full takeoff power. On impact, the engine surged, recovered immediately, and continued to operate satisfactorily.
Cold weather and ice can present hazardous conditions. Use proper aircraft operating practices, de-icing, and runway cleaning procedures. The performance of ground crews, pilots, and airport managers is critical. Let's start with the pilots. Pilots need to follow procedures without exception. Regulations prohibit takeoff when frost, snow, or ice is adhering to the wings or control surfaces of the aircraft. So make certain the aircraft is properly de-iced. Turn on engine and airfoil anti-ice when icing conditions exist or are expected. In short, follow proper operating procedures. Ice ingestion caused by ice shedding from the airplane may go undetected by the pilot, even if more than one engine is affected. Therefore, inspection of fan blade tips may reveal damage even when there is no pilot report. Repeated engine surge introduces considerable stress to engine components. When surge or power loss is reported by the pilot, inspect the compressor section carefully. It may have internal damage. This is the type of damage you might find. Or the damage could be worse. Ice forming on the fuselage or wings can represent a threat greater than that certified as safe by engine testing. Results are definitely not routine as far as the pilot is concerned. A massive ice ingestion event is often preceded by the observation of minor aircraft damage caused by water leakage, which freezes and dislodges in flight. Dents like this in leading-edge surfaces indicate the need for maintenance action to check the aircraft for water leakage. Waste disposal servicing is an important operation. Inspect for signs of leakage before starting. Follow manufacturer's procedures carefully. And be sure that the area is wiped down very clean when finished. This permits detection of any leakage that might occur before the next servicing. Must be taken seriously. They can be a hazard to flight safety because they can affect all engines of an aircraft at the same time. Although birds try to avoid collision, all too often they cannot get out of the way in time. A comprehensive airport bird control program is a must. There are two basic techniques: bioacoustics, which is the use of bird distress calls, and pyrotechnics, the use of noise-making devices. These two techniques work best used together. When using bioacoustics, be sure to identify the species of bird at your airport so that the right distress call can be used. The wrong one would be ineffective. When using pyrotechnics, be sure to move the noise-making device from time to time so the birds don't get habituated to the sound. Although the birds may leave for a time, they often return in a few days or weeks. An effective bird control program requires persistence. For aft-mounted engines, the most common source of FOD is loose material on the runway, blown forward of the engine inlet by thrust reverser action.
Here is an illustration of what happens during reverse thrust. In the top drawing, at idle reverse at 60 knots and 1.2 at 80, the reverse efflux remains at the rear of the engine. At 1.2 at 60 knots and 1.6 at 80, the reverse efflux is advancing, but is still not forward of the inlet. But such ranges as 1.4 at 60 knots and 1.2 at 40 provide an atmosphere for FOD damage. As the bottom illustration shows, no FOD problem exists during power back. With no relative wind, all debris is blown along the ground, and thus is never lifted to a position where it could be drawn into the engine.
Engine suction by itself is not a big factor in FOD. Material must be lofted up in front of the engine before being ingested. In tests at higher engine power and relatively low aircraft speed, slow motion documentation clearly shows reversers can lift material to forward of the engines. Therefore, published procedures regarding use of reverse power must be strictly followed. Unless higher thrust is required for existing conditions. Most FOD is preventable. Snow and ice can be a problem. Remove it from the runway and from the aircraft. Wastewater servicing is an important job. Procedures must be followed carefully. Bird control. A comprehensive program must be pursued. And thrust reversers. Follow manufacturer's guidelines. A small failure to work hard at FOD prevention can have serious consequences. FOD is everybody's problem.
Limiting risks related to FOD. When taking charge of a vehicle, forgotten objects can pose a threat to aircraft safety and people on the ground. Forgotten objects can fall along the way and end up on the stands, taxiways, and even on the runways. If drawn in by an engine, these objects, however small, can cause significant damage to the aircraft. They can also be blown by the blast and injure people on the ground. For the same reasons, it is crucial not to leave unsecured containers on the ground. In windy conditions, containers may end up on the taxiways or runways. That can lead to a catastrophic collision with an aircraft landing, taking off, or taxiing. It is therefore important to respect 4 rules. Check that there is no debris on a vehicle when taking charge of it. Pick up any objects or waste. The person who doesn't pick up the FOD is just as responsible as the one who generates it. Put the FOD into the dedicated bins. Finally, never leave unsecured containers on the ground, regardless of their location, and systematically report them if necessary. Lay the ground for a safe flight.
Using Powtoon.